Today we're tackling a question that comes up maybe more often than you would think. My child just graduated from college. They're moving back home. Should I charge them rent? This is a multi-dimensional issue with finances and real life. My answer might surprise you. Got that and more coming up. I've got 3 kids, blessed with 3 kids. That's why I'm losing my hair. And the oldest is going to be a junior in high school, and then we've got an 8th grader and a 3rd grader. So got a wide spread here, and we're not yet to the college years, but we're super close. We're in the driving stage. That's frightening, but we help a lot of people help their kids get through those college years, and then hopefully building their great financial habits as they launch into their career. And yet, it's fairly common that there's a little bit of a detour, or maybe there's a little bit of a, pause in that plan after college, where child graduates and they move back home for a certain time period before they end up fully being on their own, renting an apartment, maybe moving to a different city, maybe buying a house, which right now with housing affordability, I think this moving back home for a little bit while I get my feet under myself financially could be, it's obviously a trend, could be even more of a thing. So this question doesn't come up all the time, but it actually comes up more often than you'd think. My college grad is moving back home. Should I charge them rent? Now, at first blush, the emotional answer might be no, of course not. That's mean, or that's cruel. And the reason why you might feel that way is because you may, or maybe, gosh, your spouse feels this. You might feel one way, your spouse feels another. And certainly important to empathize and understand each other's point of view, because the root of that's cruel or that's mean, why would anyone do that, I think is rooted in we're trying to help support our children financially, help them get a stable financial position so that they can move on in their financial adulthood, if you will, with financial strength. And if we charge rent, they're actually going backwards. That's penalizing them. That is actually holding them down financially, when in fact we want to lift them up financially. And, everyone's circumstances are different. And so if your child has a lot of student loans, or, there could be a lot of other factors that need to be considered. And yet I would argue that if you do decide to charge your college grad rent when they move back home, and I'm going to put rent in air quotes here for reasons you'll see in just a second, that it doesn't need to be punitive. It doesn't need to be this financial hardship. It actually could be at a very reasonable amount that helps them build discipline, build habits, build budgeting skills. Very difficult to teach budgeting and certainly practice budgeting when you don't have a lot of expenses. And so this could actually help with discipline, help with habits, help with that foundational budgeting skill, and actually with a twist that I'll explain in just a second, could actually help accelerate your child to their financial independence as opposed to holding them back. Okay, so if you're past those emotional, and there's some openness, or maybe you're curious, I think I'd want to, then really there's 2 ways to do it, and one of them has a twist. The first is, okay, no, this is formal. We're going to make a lease, and if I'm going to teach my kid to be an adult, we're going to craft this lease agreement, and it's going to have conditions in it, and requirements, and so on, and they're going to sign it, and we're going to do this thing. Well, you need to be careful about that, and no one really thinks about this because it's family, but a formal lease has formal tax consequences. Yeah. And you might say, well, no, it's not if anyone, if no one knows. Technically, right? An actual lease, a formal lease where you specify this is rent, this is the exact amount, and this is what you get. You get a room and blah, blah, blah. That in drawn up in a written contract, that's actually rent. And that's actually a taxable income. And you might say, well, if it's taxable income to me, but taxable to my child, okay, that's okay. Probably not, because you're probably in different tax situations, but it's not fully tax deductible to them. You would have to claim the income or the rent as income on your tax return, because you're renting out your home for more than 14 days. Technically, if it's less than 14 days, you don't have to report that as rental income. But If it's more than 14 days in a year, then yeah, you have to report it as rental income. You could deduct some of your expenses, but it's all proportionate and it gets super, super messy. And likely there would be some residual taxable income that would land on your tax return. Your child then, if they're filing a tax return, hopefully they've got income and they're filing a tax return, they wouldn't be able to deduct rent. Maybe on their state tax return, they could deduct up to a certain amount of rent. Here in Indiana, it's a few $1,000s that you get to deduct, but not a lot, and it certainly isn't one for one. So I get the idea. If you do say, yeah, I do want to treat my child like they're an adult, right? Build the habits, and we're gonna do a lease. Be careful; it might trigger some tax consequences that are really not intended, and I don't think super helpful. So then the second way is often the more preferred way, and this one includes a twist that's optional, and that is, and you can call it rent, okay, air quotes again, but it wouldn't be a formal contract, and it wouldn't specify that you get this room, this square footage, blah, 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 but more so it would be, hey, child, it's expected that you are sharing and participating in the cost of the home. And whether that is like, for property taxes or insurance, but also just even for groceries or whatever. And you might say, well, my child is expected to go out and buy some of their groceries. If they want something to eat that we're not getting for the family, they're going to go buy it. Fantastic, right? And this doesn't need to be like market rent either. This could be $100. It could be a couple $100, something like that. But it's not officially rent, and therefore there's no like signed contract. There's no tax consequences to it. But it's designed to help share in the cost of managing the home and those sorts of expenses, the cost of the child living there. I think this makes a ton of sense. And if it's not a significant amount, again, you get all of those good things that can come with charging quote unquote rent, where your child would then start having to build this habit. Okay, build in the discipline, maybe build out budgeting, and better yet, this starts creating a line item so that when they do move out to an apartment or start renting a house with some friends or maybe even buying a house, that adjustment in their cash flow isn't such a significant shock. Now, here's the twist. Many parents, even those who financially, yeah, it is challenging. It has been challenging to help their child through school, and then they're back, and so, oh gosh, groceries and so on. Even ones that say, yeah, we could use some more breathing room in our finances. Many of them take that rent or that payment from $250 or $300 a month from their child and put it directly into a bank account. Child doesn't know this. And again, this is optional. This is the twist. You don't need to do this. Put it directly into a bank account. And then when that child moves out, you bless them with all of that rent to help them, either build that emergency fund, which is absolutely necessary to build as they get started in their career, but certainly as they move out on their own, especially if they buy a house, or that can help towards a down payment of a vehicle or something like that. It can feed their emergency fund, or as we call it, their delayed spending account, that kind of bank account number 2 is short-term savings. You can bless them with that few $1,000s or whatever it is, and help that rent that they've paid become not this burden on them, but a habit builder, and then a blessing as they move on out of the house and into the apartment or their next living arrangement. So personally, haven't faced this myself with our own kids. I know, and I think you can tell exactly where I stand. I'm not sure where Cindy will stand. We'll talk through that. Have faced this vicariously, though, in several situations serving clients. And it can make a lot of sense when you're adult child graduates from college, moves back home, to set up some sort of cost sharing arrangement and even use it as a blessing as they then transition to the next stage of life. Work with your certified financial planner, though, because you're going to want to figure out insurances. You're going to want to talk through some of the other cost sharing arrangements, right? Does your child help participate in their in their car insurance? Is that in their name, or because they're at home, is that still in your name? How does that going to work? And then taxes, are they still a dependent? What about health insurance? Are they still on your health insurance? Well, do they participate in any of that? There's a lot that you can figure out. And then plus, as that adult child now graduates from college and hopefully they've got a job and they're starting to make some of their own choices, what are the habits that they need to build in their financial life, saving up for the future, managing their tax situation? Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, you can contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.